You've seen it. People who lie, manipulate, and crush anyone in their way, rising to the top like it's nothing. And the ones who try to do the right thing, who hold on to their principles, get left behind. You start asking yourself the question you were never supposed to ask. Why do they keep winning? You want to believe the world rewards hard work. You want to think being kind, being fair, matters. But deep down, you already know. It doesn't, not always, not when it comes to power. And that doesn't just hurt, it breaks something. Because it means everything you were taught about how the world works might be a lie. Not a mistake, not a few bad apples. A lie. Because what if morality isn't the path to power? What if it's the thing keeping you from ever having it? I'm not here to tell you to be evil. I'm not here to tell you to be good. I'm here to show you something no one wants to admit. That maybe the reason you feel so powerless is because you're still playing by rules they stopped believing in a long time ago. So ask yourself this. Are you willing to see how the game really works? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. But maybe, just maybe, you can finally start playing to win. The system isn't broken. It's built this way. You've probably heard people say it before. This world is broken. Like it was supposed to be fair. Like something went wrong. But that's not the truth. The system isn't broken. It was designed like this, to reward those who take, not those who wait. You don't have to look far to see it. History doesn't hide it, it repeats it. The ones who rise, emperors, dictators, billionaires, they don't do it by playing fair. They do it by understanding something most people never dare to accept. Power doesn't care if you're good. It cares if you're willing. Willing to push when others hesitate. Willing to speak when others stay quiet. Willing to make moves that feel wrong, but get results. You see people in politics who lie and still get elected. You see people in business who fire thousands and still get praised. And you wonder why. It's not because they're lucky. It's because they understand how power works. They understand that success isn't some reward handed out for being nice. It's taken by force, by strategy, by those who can stomach the cost. That doesn't mean you have to become heartless, but it does mean you have to stop pretending the world will change for you. It won't. If you keep expecting fairness from a system that was never built for it, you'll stay exactly where you are, watching others take what you were taught to earn. The hardest part, realizing it's not a mistake, it's not a glitch. It's the rule book, and the people who win are the ones who stopped pretending otherwise. Why morality was never yours. That's what hit me the hardest, realizing that the idea of fairness I grew up with wasn't built for me. It was built to control me. The stories about being a good person, playing by the rules, trusting the system, they sound noble. They sound like truth. But they weren't truth. They were tools. Morality, the kind we're handed as kids, isn't some universal law. It's a leash. It tells you that ambition is dangerous, that anger is wrong, that power is bad unless someone else has it. And while you're out here trying to be a good person, the people in power, they're not playing that game. They're not following those rules. They're writing new ones for themselves. There's a name for this. Nietzsche called it slave morality. It's the kind of morality created by people who feel powerless, so they flip the script. They tell you that being strong is selfish, that wanting more is greedy, that speaking up is arrogant. But here's the thing, those values don't uplift anyone. They just keep you small. They keep you compliant, tamed, harmless. And the ones who benefit from that, they're the ones who never bought into it in the first place. Once you see that, it's hard to unsee. You realize your sense of right and wrong may not be yours at all. It was given to you, shaped to make you easier to manage. This doesn't mean there's no such thing as real morality, but it means you've got to stop assuming the version you were taught was meant to help you rise. Because maybe it was meant to keep you exactly where you are. The real traits of the powerful. So if morality was never really yours, and the game isn't fair to begin with, then what actually gets people to the top? It's not goodness. It's not talent alone. It's something deeper, something sharper. The people who rise, really rise, they think differently. They move differently. And it's not because they're evil. It's because they've built traits the rest of us are taught to suppress. Ambition is the first, not the kind you mention on job interviews, but the kind that doesn't sleep, the kind that keeps moving when nobody's watching. It's not about greed, it's about hunger, a refusal to settle, a refusal to shrink. Most people stop themselves before the world ever does, but the powerful, they don't wait for permission. They don't hope. They pursue. Then there's decisiveness. You feel it in how they speak, how they move through uncertainty. They don't stall, overthink, or wait for the perfect time. They decide. And if they're wrong, they adjust. But they never freeze. It's a mindset most people never learn, because we're taught to be careful, to be agreeable, to not mess up. But the truth is, waiting too long is what kills opportunity, not failure. Next is fearlessness, not the absence of fear, but the ability to keep walking with it right beside you. Most people stop at discomfort. The powerful see discomfort as a signal. They lean in. They know that anything worth having comes with risk. And maybe the hardest one to face, strategic ruthlessness. It's not cruelty for the sake of it. It's clarity. Knowing when to play by the rules, and when the rules are holding you back. The people at the top, they don't make decisions emotionally. They don't cling to what no longer serves them. They know when to cut ties, when to speak hard truths, when to stop carrying what's too heavy. It's not easy, but power doesn't come to those who avoid hard things. It comes to those who face them head on, with clear eyes and steady hands. That's what separates the ones who watch from the ones who build. Not magic, not luck, just a different set of muscles, the ones we were never taught to use. How the powerful eventually fall. But here's the part most people miss. The ones who rise through raw force, through obsession, control, and dominance, they don't always stay there. In fact, most of them don't. Because power, real power, isn't just about taking, it's about holding. And that's where most people lose it. You see it in history again and again. People who seemed unstoppable, falling just as fast as they rose. Not because someone else outplayed them, but because they stopped managing themselves. Julius Caesar had the power of Rome in his hands, But his ambition turned him into a threat to everyone, even his own allies. So they turned on him, stabbed him, literally. Not because he was weak, but because he became so strong, he stopped seeing the line. Same with Napoleon, brilliant, fearless, ruthless. He built an empire that reshaped Europe and then tore it down with his own hands. He wanted more, always more, and eventually he stretched too far, ignored the warnings, thought he was above failure. That's the trap. When power becomes the goal instead of the tool, it turns on you. Even in the modern world it happens. Blockbuster could have adapted. Kodak could have led the digital shift, but they didn't. They were too comfortable, too proud. And power, just like time, doesn't wait for anyone. It's not that they weren't strong, it's that they stopped evolving. They confused control with permanence, and they paid for it. So if you want power, real power, you have to understand this. Taking it is one thing. Keeping it requires a whole different kind of strength. One that's quieter, more disciplined, less about domination and more about balance. Because the same traits that help you rise can just as easily become the reasons you fall. The third path, strength without corruption. That's where I started asking myself the real question. If chasing power too blindly destroys you, and following morality too blindly keeps you weak, then what's left? There's a third path, but most people never find it because it's not loud. It doesn't come with applause or validation. It just works. It's not about being ruthless for the sake of control, and it's not about being good so people like you. It's about learning how to move through the world with your eyes open, seeing how the game is played, and choosing how you play it. The people who truly last, the ones who rise and stay risen, they don't throw away their values, but they don't let those values turn into chains either. They build their own compass, not based on guilt, not based on fear, but based on strength and clarity. They know when to be kind, because it serves a purpose. They know when to be hard, because it's necessary. They're not trying to be liked. They're trying to lead, to build, to protect something bigger than themselves. That's what strength without corruption looks like. Not soft, not cruel, just clear. You don't get that clarity by copying others. You get it by knowing yourself, by seeing the world as it really is, and still choosing to move forward with discipline. Because at the end of the day, power isn't just about rising. It's about what you do once you get there, who you become in the process, and whether the power you hold is something you control or something that controls you. I don't want to be feared. I don't want to be praised. I just don't want to be powerless anymore.